2021 marks the 86th anniversary of the day in 1934 when Bill Boeing resigned from the aviation enterprise he had founded only 18 years earlier. Congress decided companies shouldn't be allowed to build both and operate commercial planes, so the government moved to break up the business. Boeing decided that he had enough and departed aviation forever. Yes, my friends, welcome back to another video, and we are going to be discussing about Boeing today. From the jumbo jet 747 to the 727, we have heard of all Boeing's planes and even have traveled on it. So, what made this company so successful in today's time? In this video, we are going to be finding out just that, so stay tuned till the end. Welcome to Schematic World. This is Shantan Mukherjee helping you how to grow yourself today. If you are new here and want to learn more on how companies develop the success paths, then do consider subscribing to the channel and clicking the bell notification so that you never miss an update. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Coming as it did in the depths of the Great Depression, the breakup and loss of its founder was a major blow to the company. But it wouldn't be the last day by a long shot. For instance, there was that time during the Nixon administration when demand for jetliners collapsed. Boeing's commercial airplane unit saw its workforce shrink from 83,700 to 20,750 in just 3 years. So today's crisis surrounding the 737 jetliner is far from unprecedented for the world's biggest aerospace company. Building airplanes has always been a turbulent and challenging business. What stands out about Boeing is how challenged it has been, but how successful. It is the first aerospace enterprise in history to reach $100 billion in annual sales and is frequently ranked as one of the world's most admired companies. However, nobody is thinking about these achievements at the moment, either inside or outside the company. The torture of dealing with two tragic incidents has imparted a somber cast to everything. Employees cry in meetings. When they take their kids to soccer, they have fend off questions from other parents about what went wrong. And they can't relate what little they know about because management wants them to remain mum until all the facts come out. It is not a good time. Given the drumbeat of negative media coverage, it is easy to lose sight on how Boeing got to this point. It didn't survive for a century in an unforgiving marketplace by cutting corners or offering mediocre products. It succeeded by repeatedly disrupting the competitive landscape with novel products that competitors couldn't match. Not just once or twice, but repeatedly throughout its history. So here's a little perspective on what Boeing has meant for America. Boeing is the greatest innovator in aerospace history, and it has over 13,000 patents to prove it. Boeing built the first commercially successful jetliner, the 707, the first jetliner to surpass 1,000 sales figures, 727, the first jetliner to surpass 10,000 sales figures, 737, and the first wide-body jetliner, 747. The first jetliner developed entirely on computers, the 777, and the first jetliner to be assembled mainly from composite materials, the 787. And that's just on the commercial aircraft side. Various corporate ascendants, now assimilated into the Boeing culture, built the first geosynchronous communication satellites, the first GPS satellites, the Apollo spacecraft, and the Space Shuttle. Boeing also developed the nation's only fully successful ICBM, the Minuteman. Boeing is also the survivor of brutal market forces. Dozens of companies have sought to compete with Boeing over the years, and they are almost all gone now. Boeing survived constant, competitive assaults and the world's most demanding regulatory environment by continuously innovating and exhibiting extreme discipline in its management practices. The same cannot be said of Airbus, its main competitor in the commercial transport business. The World Trade Organization has ruled that every plane Airbus ever brought to the market was illegally subsidized and that the company might not exist at all in the presence of 40 years of unfair launch aid from European governments. So you could say Boeing is a market survivor, whereas Airbus is a market distortion. Boeing is the biggest contributor to US trade competitiveness. It isn't just the nation's biggest exporter at a time when US trade balance in many tech categories has turned decisively negative. Boeing is the main reason America's aerospace trade communications to generate big surpluses every year. Even though Boeing generates 80% of its commercial aircraft sales outside the United States, 80% of its suppliers are located within US borders. Boeing builds every one of its planes, both military and commercial, in America. There aren't many big manufacturing enterprises in the US that can say that they build all of their signature products here, even though the products are often designed for foreign markets. Boeing is a huge customer of small and medium-sized US manufacturers. Boeing has over 13,000 suppliers in the United States who collectively generate $45 billion in revenue annually from doing business with the company. Roughly 1.3 million jobs in the US are tied to Boeing's supply chain, and that's not even counting the company's own workforce. Boeing thus is an engine driving much of the US manufacturing sector, and the jobs associated with aerospace typically pay more than those in the other sectors. In states such as Alabama, Iowa, Kansas, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, Boeing suppliers comprise a sublime component of the local workforce. Boeing is the sole grantor of American leadership in global aerospace. There was a time when multiple US companies built jetliners, but that was before Airbus came along. Now, there is only Boeing. There was also a time when half a dozen companies built fighters for the military, but now there are only two, and Boeing is one of them. What that means is that if Boeing enterprise falters in some significant and prolonged fashion, America's dominant role in global aerospace will be over. Other countries are straining to get into aerospace, and Boeing has been the biggest obstacle to realizing their aspirations. To summarize, so whatever you may think about the current challenges facing the company, when you talk about Boeing, you are also talking about America's future in global economy. This all tends to get lost in media coverage of the present crisis. But there's a reason why every one of those original Dow Jones industrial companies has now been removed from the index. No matter how imposing big industrial enterprises may seem, they are inherently fragile. Unforeseen setbacks can permanently hobble them. Let's hope that this is not the case with Boeing, because the consequences for America's economy and trade balance would be devastating. So I hope you learned something new today. If you did, then let me know down in the comments below, what do you think about Boeing? Also, check out my other videos linked here on the end screen, and with that, I shall take my leave and I shall see you in the very next one. Thank you.